How's it going, guys? It's Jay Dansagani, managing editor of All Over Cricket, and we've got a really special guest with us. He is the captain of the UAE men's team, Ahmed Raza, the successful captain of the UAE men's team, coming fresh off a trophy winning campaign at the T20 World Cup Global Qualifier A, where they won the final against Ireland. Ahmed, welcome, welcome, welcome. How is the mood right now?
Thank you so much for the very nice introduction, and the mood is great. As I was just telling you off camera, like it's surreal, and it's still sinking in. It happens when you talk about one dream and which becomes your obsession, and you talk about it day in day out for 2.5 years, and then it happens. So, it takes time to sink in, and it's still sinking in, but it's good that we have something coming up real soon. So our mind will be off it. We've done the celebrations, and the focus changes then.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, let's talk a little bit about what's happened in the last 2.5 years as well. Um, and I promise we will get to the positive stuff as soon as possible. But 2.5 years ago, of course, I'm a big believer that that their names don't even deserve to be mentioned, right? But we did have a match fixing scandal where I think it was seven players in the national setup who are no longer part of the national setup, right? And it's almost crazy to think that we've come from there to 2.5 years later with the likes of Ritya Arvind, top run scorer in the tournament, Mohammad Wasim, a lot of people who maybe wouldn't have gotten a chance back then, really coming to the fore and really stepping up for the national team. But I want to take you back to 2.5 years ago, and when you assumed the captaincy as well, mid tournament. Just talk to us about the feeling, back then, and some of the conversations that you had with the players who did take the park during that tournament.
Yeah, I mean, as you rightly said, I mean, I don't really like talking about what happened in 2019, and it's not because I'm not comfortable talking about it. It's because they don't deserve the airtime at all. They don't deserve it one bit. They did what they had done. They got punished. ICC and ACU, Anti-Corruption Unit, I think they did brilliantly. They worked closely with our board, and that's why we support the ACU and ICCU in these matters, because we want to keep our great sport clean, and that's exactly what happened. And even at the time it happened, we didn't have any we weren't sad, or we weren't feeling bad for them, because they were the people who were doing the wrong bit, and they were the one who were betraying us and everything. So we didn't feel bad about it at all. And not even once I blamed the people who were there in the qualifiers that we couldn't make it because of the people who weren't there. There was nothing like that. It was like we got very close. We had our own opportunities, and we were totally a good team. We were still good enough to make it to the World Cup. We didn't make it to the World Cup, then, and that's fine. Maybe whoever's writing the script was written brilliantly, because 2 years, 2.5 years down the line, we made it to the World Cup with amazing group of people, with youngsters, with the people who served for a long time. And everything happens for a reason, and I'm glad that happened in 2019. Cricket got clean, our team got clean, and we moved on with the right people, with the people who and with the people who had desire to do well for the country, and not cheat. So I think the likes of Ritya, Karthik, Alishan, Rahul Bhatia was there in this team. I mean, they all are homegrown products. So I'm glad they got their opportunity, and then it's just four of them who were part of this trip. Ritya played a massive role. Karthik did his bit. Alishan unfortunately couldn't get a game, but there's still so many more youngsters who couldn't make it to the 40, and there will be other few players who will be coming, in the setup. I mean, like in the playing 11 soon, and they will grab their opportunities as well. So it has only worked for us, and I'm glad, like after 2.5 years, UAE's name is out there in the world, out there in the public, and it's for the best reasons in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very well said. And I want to take you back to some of the youngsters you spoke about as well, because we had a phenomenon a couple of years ago where the youngsters were stuck behind a queue of veterans in their mid 30s or whatever. And a lot of these youngsters, they chose to pursue studies in the UK or elsewhere. And maybe playing cricket for the UAE, it was almost a bit of a pipe dream for them back then. um, and like you said, the sport's been cleaned up and you have everyone pushing in the right direction now. But it seems like it's also it also created a lot of opportunities for young homegrown players to come through the system. But yeah, just talk to us in those 2.5 years. It's not like someone like a Vritya Arvind or Karthik Mayappan comes ready made, right? So just talk to us about their development across the 2.5 years, and the role that you played in making them, I guess, battle ready for big tournaments like this.
I think it started with 2019, right after the T20 qualifiers. We had a World Cricket League game, and that was against Scotland and USA. So I remember, I think the first game we played against USA, we probably handed out like 5 or 6 debut caps, because it was a fresh start. It was a fresh start for me, and it was fresh start for the selectors at that point. Dougie was the head coach back then, so it was a fresh start, and we had to start fresh somewhere. So that was the time when we said, now let's head towards the 20. I mean, the COVID had not been there at that point, so we had to start there. And they were part of the circuit. They were part of the under 19s. Vritya, Karthik, um, Junaid played the T20s, but made his ODI debut end of 2019 in ODI cricket. And the players, and I think a couple of months later we went to Oman for T20 qualifiers, Asia Cup qualifiers. We were again handing out debut caps. So it was that kind of phase that there were few players who were part of the setup, like myself, Zahoor, Usman, Chirag Suri, uh, maybe a handful of players basically, and all the others were just coming through the circuit. But I'm glad we went to our homegrown players rather than going to players who come to the country and uh, serve their time, in which I've like no nothing against them. I mean, they live in the country, they serve their time, and they qualify, and then they play for the country. But I'm more inclined towards players who we produce, which we can call homegrown players because we invest so much in them. So I think at that point, the top of the queue were the players who were homegrown, who had served us in the 19s or 16s or been around the setup. So I think those 3-4 months, it was all about getting them into the system. And then COVID happened, and then we hardly played anything for about a year. Uh, and just before that, the under 19 T20 under 19 50 over World Cup happened. So we got a couple more players from there as well. Like Ansh Tandon got involved. Aryan Lakra, the captain, was there. Karthik did well on the tour. He had made his UAE debut, but he showed what he's capable of doing over there as well. Sanchit Sharma bowled really well at the World Cup, who later made his UAE debut as well. So we got a lot of players, and the top of the queue was the players who were coming through the system, which I was really glad about. And uh, and 2.5 years later, Kapitya Arvind is the player of the tournament. A 19-year-old kid. I mean, we still have players who are mid 30s, but we have players who are 19 and 20, 21 as well. So it's a great mix of youth and experience, and I think that's what a team would want. Yeah, because you don't want all the seniors to leave the team together, and you don't want all the juniors to be playing together. And now it's a nice mix balance of youth and experience. And I think our average age on this tour of Oman was probably 27, 28, which had not happened for UAE for a long, long time.
Yeah, I think it was Andrew Leonard on air who said your average age, I believe, is 7 or 8 years younger than it was in 2019. So that's saying something. But no, you're right. I mean, I think
Yeah.
Vritya 19, Chirag 26, Basil 29. I feel like I'm off by like
Yeah.
1 or 2 years in each case.
Yeah, I think if I start saying, I might be off for 1 or 2 years as well. But yeah, I think Basil's 28, I think, 20, 27, 28. Chirag's 28, 26. His birthday was Feb 18th. So I think, yeah, I'm right about that. 26. Vidya is 19. Karthik's 21. Rahul Bhatia is 24. And the other players who are in the system, they are about the same age. Ansh played the 2020 World Cup. Aryan played the 2020 under 19 World Cup. Fahd Nawaz played for the 19th 4 years ago. He's 24 as well. And talk about keeping the youngsters in the country. I think Robin did a great job with that. So as soon as Robin took over and he got in the system, the first thing he did was he handed out contracts to the youngsters. So all these players are either contracted with us or they are on some training allowances as well. So that's the first thing which he did, and that's why we managed to keep them. They got the opportunity, so they see a future here as well. They want to be the next Chirag Suri, or they want to be the next Ahmed Raza, or they want to be the next Rohan Mustafa, and that's a great thing. They don't want to leave the country and play for someone else after playing, the 19s and 16s here. So that's something which the board deserves a credit, and definitely Robin Singh deserves a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad we've talked a lot about youngsters on this trip, but and I know that at least with the last under 19 squad, and perhaps with this, you had a coaching role with the under 19s as well. So you watch a lot of this cricket. You work very closely. Just talk to us more about your formal engagements with the under 19 boys, and also what you, Ahmed Raza, do to support more and more of them coming through the pipeline.
Yeah, I think I was very lucky, and thanks to the board for giving me the opportunity to be there at the World Cup at the 2020 uh, South Africa. When I worked very closely with the under 19s, and obviously that gives you an edge when you see a player in a game situation, in a current situation. You see, different characters, how they come out of it, how they handle pressure, how they play in front of the 20 odd cameras. So that was really important for me to see, because that was a time when we were building a very young site. So it was very important for me to watch them and work with them up close, work closely. And just before this World Cup, I tried helping the 19s as much as I could, but this time around we had our own commitments with the men's team, so I couldn't be with them all the time. But whenever it was possible, myself and the other seniors, they were around helping them, and um, and they did wonders at the under 19 World Cup. I mean, they won the plate championship, beating West Indies and Ireland in the semi-final and final respectively. I mean, that's a great achievement, beating two Test playing nations back to back and winning the plate championship. Also, they've done wonders to the next under 19 batch as well, because they're going directly to the World Cup, and that's a great thing, because I mean, I've been playing these qualifiers since I was 19-year-old, because our under 19, we lost the semifinals. We didn't make it to the World Cup. So for an associate country to qualify for the World Cup directly, there's nothing bigger than that, because you don't have to go through the hardships and heartbreaks of qualifiers if you don't make it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wrote about this in one of the pieces, and I have a feeling you may have read the piece. You definitely threw me a like. I'm not sure if you read it. I don't know if I've made it onto Ahmad Raza's reading list, but this seems like, at least from the outside looking in, it seems almost like a golden period for the UAE. You mentioned the under 19 boys winning the plate final, beating Ireland and the West Indies. You guys, of course, and what you've accomplished in the last few days, getting to the World Cup, but also the women's team in November, qualifying, advancing to the global qualifier. It is. Am I right in saying, in assuming that this is a golden period for UAE cricket, or am I just getting way too enthusiastic?
Firstly, I did read that piece, and it was very well written, and that's why I liked it, and I congratulated you for that. And second, yes, I'd like to believe that this is the golden period, but also I would like to believe this is the start of the golden period. Only because we had not played any cricket last year. I mean, we played handful of cricket. We played only six international games in the whole year. Our under 19s only played the Asia Cup and then they were off to the World Cup. Our women's only played that one event. So for people to judge what we've been doing without playing any international cricket was hard because they had not seen us. That's why I like to believe this is the start of the golden period of UA cricket because now we are getting cricket back to back to back. Now our women's are going to go to the qualifiers and hopefully they make it to the World Cup. They did wonders at home, beating Nepal, beating Hong Kong, beating top sides in women cricket in this part of the region. And they did. I mean, I think apart from Hong Kong, no one really pushed UA. And when they were pushed against Hong Kong, they stood tall. They showed great resilience and ended up beating Hong Kong. And I think the last game was against Nepal when they beat them and they advanced to the next qualifiers. And who better than 14-year-old Samara picking
Sure.
up, I think, four wickets she did. Top of off. She kept things simple. And, we made it to the next round. So, yeah, I'd like to believe so. This is the start of the golden period of UAE cricket. And trust me, there's a lot more the world is going to see of us. And hopefully when we go to the World Cup, we don't only go there to play. It's about going there to make a difference and making it to the next round there.
Yeah, while you were talking, I actually kept count of how many times you mentioned the victory over Hong Kong. Four times. So thank you for all those reminders. You know, no, but I know I
We got
definitely.
a long we got a long history with Hong Kong. I mean, the Asia Cup was happening right next to my house in Dubai Stadium, and we didn't make it to the Asia Cup because we lost to Hong Kong. So we had a score to settle. We still do. Every time we play against Hong Kong, I'll remember that Asia Cup we didn't play because we lost to Hong Kong.
I remember that game very, very clearly. We had contributions all around, all down the order. I don't even think I say we. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to like edit this we part out of the interview. Hong Kong.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, that game. I can never forget that game. One of those games which will haunt me for the rest of my life. Took away an Asia Cup from me.
but I mean, at the end of the day, Hong Kong did get into the Asia Cup, and we pushed. We Hong Kong pushed
Yeah, the biggest
India
team
as
in the
well.
world. Oh, but
No,
that's
but
the responsibility you have as an associate country because you're representing the whole associate world. So I mean, I can sulk, and I did sulk at that point. But when we were watching Hong Kong play, we were really happy because it's not Hong Kong playing; it's the whole associate nation. Because the pundits around the world, they're the first one to pick up their phones and pick up their mics to talk ill about associate cricket or how we should not be here or how we should not be participating. I mean, so for associate countries to do well against the so-called big teams, it's really important, and it because they're carrying the flag of the whole associate nation, whoever it is, whatever associate country is playing against them, because there's a lot of unity and there's a lot of respect between the associate nation, because we all know what the hardships we go through, and it's not being an easy. It's not easy being an associate cricketer.
yeah, no, absolutely, and I'm glad you bring that up because there are quite a few myths around associate cricketers, and one of them, like you said, is this myth that somehow full members playing associates automatically means a lack of a contest or a game that isn't close. And I mean that couldn't be further from the truth. But the second myth is, and I see this accusation leveled at the UAE a lot by people who just simply don't know better. But people who are saying UAE is Pakistan A, or UAE is immigrants or expats 11, and they don't really seem to understand how immigration works and how what the demographics of the UAE are as well. Um, and I'm just curious, when you read things like that, like what is your thinking, and what would your response be to people like that?
Yeah, I mean, there were a few comments I read about it, and I don't want to get into details of that, from where it was coming and why it was coming. But it never came when we lost. When we lost, it never came that why did say. Pakistan B or India B lost. It never comes when when you're not doing well. It all starts coming when you start doing well. And I didn't. I mean, I didn't come from Pakistan. My parents came from Pakistan. I was born in Sharjah, so they don't do their homework, and that's just me. The other players who were born in the country, or they came here as really infants, or the parents only went back for the birth of their kid, so they don't go into those kind of details because they don't know about it. That's why I don't pay attention to it, because they don't know who we are. I mean, for them, it's easy to write, that you play for, you're from this origin and you're from this origin. Obviously, they don't know how the immigration works. They don't know where we have lived all our lives. If it's that easy, try living 1 year in UAE, surviving here, earning earning a life here, and you'll know what it means. It's not easy. So they don't know about all of this. That's why I don't pay attention to it. And if you had not asked me this, you'll never see me talking about it,
Yeah.
because these people are outside noise, and they don't matter to me so much.
Yeah, see, the reason I'm asking that as well, because as a brown man who lives in Hong Kong, there's almost this feeling, whether it's among locals or even people at in India, that I somehow have to prove my patriotism, right? That in somewhere like Hong Kong, the ethnically Chinese people, the onus is on me to prove that I care about this city. And at the same time, when I go back to India, the onus is on me to prove that I care about India, which is very, very strange. Like, of course, I'm going to care about where I'm from and what my ethnic, identity is. Why would I not be proud of this, right? And I just find such a strong parallel between that and also, just not just UAE cricketers, but anyone who's ethnically South Asian who plays for any associate team. There's always this thing that, hey, you're not really, you're not really uh, Chinese, you're not really Emirati or a UAE national, and I just find it. I find it so absurd. I think we should probably move on from this topic because you don't want to. We don't want to
No,
give.
no, it's fine. I can answer that because it's very simple for me, and I can talk about myself here. I don't want to talk on behalf of anyone, but if if I start proving it to people about my love, and the place I was born, that I am from here and I love this country and I play for my country. If I start proving this point to others, that means I've already believed that I don't belong here.
Ah,
So that's why I don't have to prove it to anyone that I belong here, because I do and I know that. So if in my head, if I start believing that, I come from somewhere else, my ethnicity, I respect my ethnicity. But those are the immigration laws. I can't change that. But I'm 33-year-old. I've lived all my 33 years here. My parents had, they got married, they lived here. All my siblings and myself, like we were born here. So if I start proving this to others, that means I'm self-doubting. That's why I don't have to prove it to anyone. You can think
yeah.
whatever you want to think. It doesn't bother me.
There you go. Ahmed Raza's uh, very eloquent way of saying, "Go away, forget it. You're not worth it." No, but
In the nicest possible way.
yeah, the nicest possible way. Fantastic. But Ahmed, I want to go back to I think it was around 2015. I think that's when you got your first taste of national team captaincy. Talk to us about Ahmed Raza, the captain. Do you feel like you've always, naturally been a leader and a captain, or is this something that someone encouraged you to do, or was it something that was brought about by circumstance? Just talk to us about that.
I think it probably started with the under 19s, like really back in the day, when I was first handed over the captaincy of our under 19s. So I'm sure coaches back then and people in charge thought that I could be the right choice to be leading. And for me, when it comes down to captaincy or anything, it's not only what you do on the field; it's about what you do off the field. It's about how you carry yourself, how you carry your team, because uh, there's a difference between a captain and a leader. And ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to be a leader. that I am showing a certain path to everyone. So I'm responsible for that, and I'm responsible for everyone who's under my wing. So I always looked up to captaincy like in that way. And I mean, apart from bowling changes and everything, that's what you do on the field. It's really important how you carry your other leaders who are in your team with you on the path you're at. So I think from the very young age, I obviously enjoyed captaincy, enjoyed leading. Um, Maybe it was 2011, 2012. Actually, when I started leading, 2013, I think it was 2013. It was when I started leading in the absence of Khurram Khan.
Oh,
So Khurram Khan was the captain at that point, and whenever Khurram Khan was not available, I used to lead and fill in as an interim captain at that time. It was under Akib Javed's coaching. So I was looked at as a possible successor of Khurram Khan. So 20, but those games were not listed. That's why you won't find it in the records everywhere because those were Asian Cricket Council games, which were unfortunately never listed. I mean, if we count Asian Cricket Council, I probably have played 1,000 games for UA. It's unfortunate that they are not listed in cricket for people don't count it. So I started leading like that, and it was 2014 when we had a four-game series against Afghanistan just before the World Cup. This was the Christmas time in 2014. So I got the ODI captaincy for the first time in that series when Khurram Khan was not available and we were leading the series 2-1. That was my first game as an ODI captain, and we won that game, which meant we won the series 3-1. I can never forget that day. It was like just before the start of the game. Akib Javed was the head coach, so he just called me, and I had not played a single game in that series. So I sat out three games, and that was my first game of this series. And those were leading up to the 50 over, and those performances were obviously going to count, for your selection for the 50 over World Cup, which was huge. So I remember very clearly. Akib Javed just called me, and he was just looking at the wicket. So he was at the center, and we were at the far end at the ICC Oval One. So we were towards the nets area. So he just called me in the center, and all he said was like, "You're leading today, and I have full confidence in you. Just be yourself and let your instincts, take over." I said, "Brilliant. I mean, this is my first game of the series, and I'm leading. What better than that?" But I just saw it as an opportunity. How many times would you get an opportunity to win a series, to win an ODI series? Because uh, we only got the ODI status earlier that year in 2014. So it was our first ODI series, and I got the chance in the series decider. So I think it started with at the young age, but 2012, 2013, Akif Javed started making me Khurram Khan's successor. And when you start building a team, you have to take into account that you're going to lose. You're going to lose. You're going to identify players who fit the system, who fit international cricket, and you don't see the results straight away. That's why I'm so thankful to Mubashir, our CEO, Robin, our head coach, selectors, that they stuck by me after 2019 because I was given the captaincy, but we didn't make it to the World Cup. And again, there's no excuse. I had a very good team. I had all the opportunities to take my team to the World Cup. Unfortunately, I couldn't. Following that was following that first two ODIs against USA, we lost. Then the only game we won was against Scotland in that. Then we went to Oman. We beat Namibia twice over there, but lost to Oman. And then COVID happened, so obviously there was not much cricket then. But imagine if the selectors and if the people in charge didn't trust me or didn't have that kind of vision. When you start a new team, I mean, when you start a building phase, you have a vision of 2 years, 3 years, 4 years where you want to see your team going. So if people in charge, like Robin and Washir Saab, everyone, they are selectors, Dr. Kamali, everyone, so they had a vision, and I'm glad they had the vision. We all were on the same path because 2.5 years later now, I'm chatting to you because we have qualified for the World Cup. It's huge for UAE cricket. So they stuck with me through thick and thin, and I'm glad I've given this back to the country. That unfortunately couldn't make it to the World Cup last time, but I've taken my team to the World Cup this time.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
can.
that was a very detailed answer, but I
No,
had to get through all the nitty-gritties of the past.
mate, nobody is here to listen to my voice. Nobody cares about what I have to say. And that's the way it should be. And the whole time you were saying that, I could see, the happiness and even the gratitude on your face. I don't think you were even able to contain your smile. 4 minutes, mate. You were smiling for an entire 4 minutes. Absolutely, even now, absolutely like nonstop. But no, you're right. 2.5 years. It's even as the audience, it's so hard for us to imagine how a team can come so far in the space of 2.5 years. And you know we've talked about a bunch of things. It's interesting because ahead of this podcast, I'm thinking so much has happened in UAE cricket recently, right? There's no way we could fit everything in to like a 1 hour discussion or anything like that. But no, no, absolutely. I mean, I think now what I'd want to do is let's talk a little bit about Ahmed Raza, the origin story. In an interview with Paul Radley from the National, you spoke a lot about in your early days the influence that your father had on you. Just talk to us a little bit about the beginning of your cricketing journey, and also the impact of and the influence of your father.
Yeah, he had uh, he had huge influence on my life as a cricketer. Um, Firstly, because geographically we were we were I mean we our house was literally 5 minutes down the road from the Sharjah Cricket Stadium, and so growing up we could we could hear the noise of Sharjah Cricket Stadium where we to our in our house. So it was that close. So it was um, literally 5 minutes down the road. It was Sharjah Stadium, and Dad loved cricket. So our family outings also started becoming like going to Sharjah Stadium to watch a Bukhatar League game or a 35 overs game in Ramadan, which was huge. If I start naming the players who used to come down, the biggest name you can think of, like Virender Sehwag used to come there to play Ramadan cricket. Oman used to send one whole team. Air India used to send their Air India team from India. There used to be a Sri Lankan team used to come. So Ramadan cricket, in those days was a very big affair. So we used to. So Dad used to take all of us to the ground, and I mean, if you're watching cricket so closely, and you know how Sharjah Cricket Stadium is built, the crowd is so close to the action. Domestic games or international games were super amazing, super loud, and you feel that you're part of the action. So I grew up watching that up closely, so closely. So I think that's where the interest started. That I want to do this, and I want to play. And then I remember, so the two brothers and son of Iftikhar Ali, who was officiating in the Women's Cup as well, our very senior umpire, Iftikhar Ali Sahab. So his younger son was my very close friend, schoolmate, and we lived like 2 minutes away from each other. So he was going in Shadal Altaf's academy. Shadal Altaf, our former coach and former player who played the '96 World Cup. So he run an academy. He still does. So I just told his name is Amir. So I told Amir that I want to play as well. And he spoke to his dad. I spoke to uncle. Spoke to Amir's elder brother Atif, who was a current UAE player then. So they said, yeah, why not? You should play. And so I went back home. I said, Dad, this is the situation. This is a coaching clinic, and the former Pakistani off spinner Tausif Ahmed was around. It was like a summer camp then. So I told my dad that this is a coaching clinic and I want to join. I'm interested in playing. And at that point, it was only about playing in garage with my brothers and dad, or playing in the open field with my friends who lived close by. So that was like the first formal coaching I ever spoke to dad about, and he without a hesitation, without anything, without even asking me that how much it's going to cost him, he just said, "Yeah, if you're interested, please go ahead." and I'm the youngest son, and so he was paying the school fees and university fees of my elder brother, my sister, my brother, and then on top of my education, I'm asking him to pay for my cricket clinic as well. And we came from a very humble and modest background. Like my dad had to do, like he had his own business, and he had to do one extra job to to put food on the table and to pay for all our educations, because we it's four of us, and two of my elder brother and my sister were already in university when I was still in school. So I mean, looking back, it obviously is, it's very emotional by like how my father never said no to anything. I'm telling you, like I remember very clearly. He didn't even ask me how much is it, and he started paying my cricket fees as well. But after a point, I remember there were times when he said that I cannot afford it anymore. So I went back to Shadad sir and I said, sir, my father cannot afford your fees anymore. And now this great Shadad Altaf said to me, and I can never forget this. He said, "Beta, you're most welcome. You don't have to pay anything. Just keep coming." And I mean, people like him, existed then, and they still do. Imagine if he had said, "No, you cannot come here." My career, my cricket would have ended before it even started. So I remember these things because they all play a part in your life, and they certainly did. My first ever piece of clothing, it's a funny story how I ended up on a first cricket match, because I didn't know that I didn't know cricket is played in whites. Because for me, going to Sharjah Stadium was all color clothing. So I didn't know cricket is played in whites. And Sharjah Stadium never hosted a test match till that point. So for me, cricket was a night game played with white ball, and it's colorful. So for the first time I went to this Shadal Taf's Academy's game was in colors, and my first game was played in colors. So I was playing in color clothing, and all my teammates were in white. So the first piece of clothing, white clothing, came from Iftikhar Uncle's son, elder son Atif, who was the UAE player then, and later became my very good friend. And he doesn't live in UAE anymore, but we stay in touch. So he gave me my first white to play for in that academy game. And I don't think I've ever opened up about these incidents with anyone before, but you just touched on the right thing.
I mean, I think I just got you at a right time. Yeah, you're in a good mood, right? 2 days
Yeah,
after.
I'm in a good mood. Otherwise, yeah, otherwise I probably wouldn't have spoken about it. But no, I mean, having said that, these people, I mean, they all play a role in your lives. So you just have to be grateful for the people you meet on your journey, and they all play a part. They all played a part.
Absolutely, man. That was it's yeah, because doing my research for this, I don't think I stumbled upon that story at all. So I mean, and once again,
Never. I don't think I've ever skipped.
once again, like I just see you recalling those memories with such fondness, right? I can almost just see it in your eyes. You're going back to to the times when you were a teenager, when your journey was just beginning. And yeah, no, amazing story, with the kids as well. And I think some people also find the story
Yeah, yeah,
slightly humorous as well.
yeah. And obviously, now we laugh about it, and people who known me for ages, like since I was a kid. So when we talk about it, we just laugh, and they just say like, look at this guy. He played to play a game in color clothing.
I think this leads me on to
Find
like
humor in it
one
now.
of the questions I prepared. Like even on Twitter, I go through your timeline sometimes. I get notifications, and mate, it seems like you watch a lot of cricket, not just UAE women's, men's, and under 90. Like you watch a lot of cricket from a lot of countries all over the world. Like, am I making this up, or is this true? Are you an absolute, like cricket buff, cricket nut?
No, it is true. It is true, and I do. I mean, I love watching cricket. For me, watching cricket is not less than reading an inspirational book or reading an autobiography of an athlete or anything, or whatever. Like I think it's the same. If your intent of watching is to learn or to get something out of that game. So for me, when I watch obviously I listen to the commentary closely because they might talk about something which I don't know of. Then I watch cricket. Uh, Firstly, because I obviously love sport. I live and breathe cricket. And then there's obviously stories. When for example, when I was watching UA Uganda play in that under 19 game. After the first innings, I saw all the Twitter going that UAE is gonna progress through and everything, but they didn't know what Uganda team was. But I have played against them, so I had my nerves, and I remember us cricketers were talking on a WhatsApp group, and I was like, one wicket, and they're gonna be all over UAE because they hunt in a pack. They field very well. They're very disciplined. People know very little about Uganda, but because I had watched them in the previous games as well, I was like, no, man, you can't take them lightly. And what a game eventually it was. And if we had not won that game, we wouldn't have won the championship later on. So yeah, I mean, I do watch a lot of cricket because firstly it is what I do. I love it. But there's always something you can get out of watching cricket. I believe that. I mean, I don't. There are times when you just watch it solely as a spectator where you want to enjoy good cricket. But there are times when, subconsciously you're learning something. You don't even realize that you're learning something out of that game, but you do by watching it. So for me, if I'm not reading, if I'm not watching anything else, I'll definitely be watching cricket.
It's amazing, mate. And just to move things along, I'm also interested to know, more about the future. Well, in the immediate future, of course, you have, I believe, back-to-back Cricket World Cup League Two series. Um, talk to us about your preparation for that, switching formats, and how things are shaping up in regards to that.
Yeah, I think we're playing back to back only because we hardly played anything last year. So we're kind of lacking in the number of games we've played, and there's a massive difference between top of the table, which is Oman, but they've played I think more than 23 games. Or 20, they must be on 25 now. I am not sure, but we've only played 10. So there's a massive gap, and maybe that's why ICC had to schedule it this way that we play a lot more games, and I think it works for us because. We are on the back of winning two games against Oman, and one was tied. Then on the back of winning the quadrangular, winning the qualifiers. So it's a great time to continue playing cricket, and I think everyone's on the same page that we're running hot right now. We're running on top form, so it's better if we play more cricket. And if we do well in these upcoming 8 games, I think we land on second in the points table, which is great. I mean, because that's our goal. Year and a half later, we want to qualify for the 50 over qualifiers through the top, going through by being the top three in this event. Because again, if you don't make it to the top three, go to another qualifier, which is again uh, qualifiers is a funny place, man. Different
Yeah,
things, and
absolutely. Yeah.
you can't expect. I mean, you can expect the unexpected at the qualifiers. So you don't want to put yourself into that position. So I think it's really important that we keep winning. We end up, I mean, if not top, we end up in top three in this league. So these 8 games are really important, and I'm glad they're coming so thick and fast because we are in good form, we are in great spirits. But as I said, this is only the start of the golden era. We have to keep getting better. As everyone has said, reaching the top is easy, but staying at top is hard. So it's something which we have the opportunity to do, and inshallah will come good come March.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a reminder for anyone who's listening, how World Cup qualification goes. And I'm going to try and do this very, very quickly. But top India and the next 7 teams go straight to the World Cup. Teams ranked 9 to 13 in the Cricket World Cup Super League go into the World Cup qualifier. They're joined by the top three from Cricket World Cup League Two, which leaves two more teams. Those two teams will be coming from the bottom four of Cricket World Cup League Two and the winners of Group A and Group B of the Challenge League. And like you said, Ahmad, it's cutthroat, right? These qualification tournaments can be absolutely cutthroat. And the way I see it, a team coming from Challenge League A, Challenge League B, where only 1 out of 6 teams in each makes it in to the qualifier playoff. If you're that top team, you have beaten some pretty, some more than decent competition. You know, like teams like Uganda, who you spoke of. Hong Kong are grouped with them. They're grouped with Jersey as well, Kenya, right? And if you are finishing top in that group, uh, the standard between that and Cricket World Cup League Two, it's very very similar, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm more than the standard. It's cutthroat. It's absolutely cutthroat. It's dogfight. It's cruel. That because that phase of a week, 10 days decides your future. So I don't think the standard really comes into play when the stakes are so high. Because if you don't make it, you're out for next 4 years. So when the stakes are such, the standard takes, they're not like they're not the talking point anymore. Then it's about who holds their nerves, who comes good in that tournament, who performs at the right time or peaks at the right time. So you don't want to put yourself into another dogfight. So you'd rather finish in top three and go directly to the qualifiers. And very well remember that's exactly how the program is going to work. So for us, it's an opportunity because we've only played 10 games. We've got 26 more ODIs to play. So it's really in our hands to win the maximum number of games and make it to the World Cup qualifiers directly. And and you don't want to go down there because 2018 when we went to Namibia to play one of this tournament where only two teams were going through and it was us and Nepal made it through, but it ended careers in Canada. It ended careers, but Namibia had a chance of revival, so they did. But it literally ends your career because there's nothing for you in the next 4 years. There's no funding. If you're 28, you'll be 32 the next time, so you don't want to go into that. And I've said it a few times. And with that 2018 Namibia February, that was the hardest and the hardest tournament I've ever played in my life. I don't think I've ever played which was so important in your life, and it was so hard because you were down and out. You're literally a ball away from losing your contract, losing your ODI status, losing your 4 years of your peak life. Because I was 28, 29, I think I was. So everything was. uh, It was like everything was at stake. My cricket was at stake. So I don't think I've ever played in a tournament like that. And it's a pity that tournament is not recorded anywhere. Otherwise, I would probably, whenever I get emotional, I'll probably go and watch that series for motivation.
Absolutely. And I think you speak to the reason why there's a growing community of people, of fans interested in men's and women's associate cricket, and it's why we enjoy it more than full member cricket. In the stakes are so high, so you can't not watch. It's addictive, but at the same time, there are all these mixed emotions because it's absolutely heartbreaking. What can happen if let's say you miss out on ODI status. What that can mean for careers, for funding, and everything like that. It's one of those double-edged swords. It's that injustice almost that makes it such compelling viewing, but it's the same injustice that makes it so infuriating as well. At least from a fan's perspective, it makes it very infuriating. Um but I'm not going to keep you too long, Ahmad. I also, of course, I can't believe I haven't asked you this yet. Talk to us about the T20 World Cup itself. I need a reminder of who is in your group, actually.
So we, after winning the qualifiers, we've landed in the group with Sri Lanka, Namibia, and the runners-up of World Cup qualifier B. So that is going to be in July. So whoever is the runners-up of that group, that will be in that group. So I think we got a decent draw, and if we prepare well and if we are in the right headspace going to Australia, we should be able to beat Namibia and Sri Lanka both, and whoever's the fourth team in our group. Because again, we know if we beat them, what lies ahead of ourselves. We don't go through another qualifiers. We make it to the next World Cup directly by making it to Super 12. So we really want to do that, and as soon as the ODIs are over, I think if we don't have anything in, we surely have something in summer which is not confirmed yet. But we will start training for those important three games in West Indies, in Australia, because it's been a while we haven't been to that part of the world. We know the conditions are going to be different. There will be different combinations. There will be different tactics, different kind of shot making. So we have to start preparing, because if we prepare well, we definitely stand a chance to make it to Super 12s, which is the next goal right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up. Because a big talking point about the grounds in Australia is the larger grounds. But as we know, you do have larger grounds in the UAE as well, especially Abu Dhabi. But talk to us about the differences between playing in the Middle East and the UAE compared to somewhere like Australia.
Yeah, I think it has more to do with the, like, apart from the ground size and the big boundaries. I think it has more to do with the soil, and with the kind of squares you play on. I think with playing in Asian conditions, you get away with more overs of spin, but that doesn't really happen in Australia or New Zealand, because of the bounce you get, and it's easier for a batter to get underneath the spinner. So you'll see a lot more overs of fast bowling than spin, because in Asia you can get away with 10 overs of spin and 10 overs of fast bowling. But in a place like Australia, the key players will be fast bowling all rounders who can contribute with bat and ball both. I think that is something which we'll definitely look into, because they are the great addition in your team and for your balance. You can play an extra batter and still have someone like a Kashif Dawood or Zawar, which the world hasn't seen enough of. He's someone who's really going to shine in the future. Very good player. Bowls the hard length, bowls quick, and bats at 6-7, plays the finisher role just like Kashif. And Kashif, everyone saw, I mean, the talent he is. And our fast bowling will come good. I think Zahoor will definitely enjoy bowling on those conditions. Junaid will love it because he's got a high arm action. Akif Raja was here in the ranks. He's quite a skiddy bowler. He'll really enjoy playing there. I think we've got a good mix. We've got a good mix. It's just about how well we prepare for those wickets, and being at ICC Academy, because we've got Australian soil here as well. So that's one of the things which we're going to do. We'll start whenever we are training for T20s now. We'll be using those Australian soil to train, get used to that extra bounce which you get in Australia, and yeah, I mean, look forward to going to Australia.
Absolutely, Ahmed. And I think a lot of people, a lot of fans, and other associate nations as well will be looking on with a lot of interest, to say the least. But Ahmed, thank you so much for your time. It's like I said, congratulations once again on making it through to the World Cup and everything you've achieved in the last 2.5 years.